What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. I don't have a lot of time, what with the holidays and things, so I know we talked about possibly maybe doing that dimensional thing, but the holidays have been kind of a busy one for me this year. So we're still going to do an episode of min-maxing for fun and profit, but rather than the big one, today I'd like to address something a little smaller, something a little easier. My cat has jumped on my leg. Can I have a boop, buddy? The boopus! Give us the boopus! Good enough, I guess. Jeez. I've had it come up a bunch, both in terms of archetypes and in like other things we could talk about with the class, but most of all, I've had it come up at tables and in conversations with patrons that I'm just a little too mean to the witch. I'm going to explain why I think the witch is such a powerful class, such a game-breaking class. Truly, I think they are. Anyway, thank y'all for watching. If you're liking what you're seeing, a like, subscribe, and ding that bell. We got a bunch of new big patrons over the holidays. I'm pretty stoked about that. Got to do some reorganizing of things. But today, this episode of Min-Maxing for Fun and Profit was brought to you in part by Jeff Bealey. In the past, he's had me do some big expositions. Today, I'm just going to say thank you for your help, friend. Now, here we go. I'm just going to hit this one straight on. No muss, no fuss. The reason the witch is so powerful, so frankly, blatantly overpowered, is the combination of 3 hexes. Do they have other good hexes? Yes. Is the internet at large angry with me that I'm not going to talk about Evil Eye and how good Evil Eye is? Probably. But that's just the good debuff. That's not the one that's winning you the game. What is winning you the game is Fortune and Misfortune. Both of these are standard actions. Fortune targets a creature within 30 feet for 1 round. Said creature can call upon that good luck once per round and reroll an ability check, attack roll, save, or skill check, rolling twice and taking the better. At 8th level and 16th level, the duration is extended by a round. Once a creature has benefited from this hex, it can't benefit again for 24 hours. Misfortune, basically the same idea, except there's a will save to negate it, and we target the bad guys to give the bad guys disadvantage. However, in the case of the bad guy, it's not a once per round thing. It's an any time the creature makes an ability check, attack roll, saving throw, or skill check. Basically, anytime the monster throws a d20, it rolls 2, takes the lower. Combo that up with the old Cackle Hex, which, as a move action, any creature within 30 feet under the effects of an Agony Charm, Evil Eye, Fortune, or Misfortune Hex has the duration of that hex extended, means that, assuming the creature fails their will save, the bad guy is rolling with disadvantage for potentially an entire combat. Now, fun fact, when we made the video about why Halfling Luck was so good, Mahogany and I screwed up and we talked about advantage first, so that's my bad. But when you're rolling twice and, let's say, taking the lower, that means there's a 1 in 400 chance of a creature sticking a natural 20, which will be most of the threat ranges of most of the things you're gonna fight against. All those elven curved blade wielding evil elves aside. I digress. The average roll of a d20 when you're rolling with advantage is about a 14. A creature with advantage has a 6% chance of rolling a 5 or lower, and a 51% chance of rolling a 15 or higher. The inverse is true with disadvantage. Not only does that mean you're probably succeeding at your saves, unless the monster's just way over your head and you're probably hitting things, consider also that most of the marshals, especially in optimized parties, are going into battle with, again, elven curve blades, falchions, katanas, scimitars, kukri, you name it, weapons that once keen crit on 15 or higher. That means you have a 51% chance of rolling into your threat range. After the witch gets all their allies fortuned, then gets all their enemies misfortuned, the probability can get so skewed that encounters can become unlosable for parties. And should your opponents happen to make their saves against Misfortune, well, the witch is still a full caster, ergo, the witch eventually becomes so much more powerful than everyone else in the room. And I guess this doesn't necessarily just go to the witch. Also the shaman, who one might argue is a better class because they're wisdom based, therefore will have a higher will save. Hexblade Magi, anybody who can get these hexes. Usually I would say by level 8, by the point where you don't need that cackle right away and the hex is going to last for 2 rounds, giving you that extra little bit of wiggly room. Or, of course, if you grab that cackling hag's blouse that says twice per day you can cackle as a swift, you kinda just win. And that's why I think the witch was too powerful in first edition. That's why I tell my players who are playing witches, shamans, things of that nature, go ahead and play it. You should get to play what you want. But if these hexes start happening on a regular basis, the world will have some kind of knowledge of what you're doing, and those fortunate allies are allies you're gonna have to count on to survive. Now, am I saying don't play the witch? No. The witch is one of my favorite classes on Flavor. There's a witch in Kingmaker that I replaced the old Beldam with, who was a character I played back in the day, and I've just kind of enjoyed her more than both the kind of lackluster NPC and in general, whether or not she's fortune misfortune locking people. And certainly the witch has a wide array of hexes they can take that aren't the broken ones. But in the optimized party, when I made that video, the 2 control mages definitely would have been witches or shamans had I known the power of this class when BDG started. I had to be in a party with a witch first and watch this happen. Watch all the ogres in Rise of the Runelords just spontaneously combust because they couldn't deal with it. If you find yourself GMing against this monstrosity, there are a few things I think are fair and reasonable to do to sort of balance things out. First and foremost, I don't think it's unreasonable, though, again, we've talked about the wolf fallacy. Maybe that's a video in and of itself at some point in the near future. The wolf doesn't know it's been misfortuned, but I think it's reasonable to say the human fighter might have some idea. Therefore, the enemies reasonably might go after the thing that is shutting them down. It's a simple tactical decision. It's a tactical decision that forces the witch to consider if the witch should double move, or move and use a hex, or cackle and use a hex, and just kind of stay right up in front of things, but again, full casters. Secondly, adding extra monsters into the fight can keep everyone else challenged at the table. The witch does require some setup time, and if the witch is able to misfortune lock, say, a troll, odds are that troll's probably not hurting the party. Adding a second, third, fourth troll that the witch then has to bounce around increases the probability that one of your monsters will succeed against misfortune, and barring things like a cursed hex letting you try to target something with a hex again, still pose a challenge to the party. And lastly, if you have a witch in your party that likes to do these things, use monsters that have really good will saves. Now, if you're in a published adventure, that's one thing. That's one of the reasons why in published adventures, classes like the witch are built on a 15-point buy in my games, whereas things like the fighter or the monk might get all 25. The monk needs more stats to function, the witch just needs an egregiously high intelligence, and deciding whether or not the witch has 3 good saves or good hit points or whatever is kind of the balancing factor. And as far as adventures go, I'm not saying replace every giant in Runelords with a dragon, but I am saying in homebrew, prioritizing creatures that have good will saves, for example dragons, aberrations, or even the fae, creatures who all have, by the mechanics that put them together, good will saves, further increases your odds that the witch has to expend more resources to get them locked down. And as a final note, I will say, use the notion that we're coming after the witch as a tactical decision wisely. In no way, shape, or form am I saying, and I think this may have got confused with some of my players in the past, in no way, shape, or form am I giving you license to just target someone into the ground. That's rude. Responding to a class in a way that is balanced, such as targeting them more than, say, another caster at the table, or something that's a lower priority threat, that's one thing. That's fair. Not every single archer shoots the witch every single combat. Ha 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 ha. And of course, that can suck the fun out of the room faster than a misfortune hex if just suddenly the witch's player is having dragons thrown at the witch and only the witch every single combat. It's a very, very, very fine line to walk. But what do you guys think? How do you deal with this kind of playstyle at your table? I'm legitimately asking. I would like to take notes. Let me know down in the comments. As always, thank y'all so much for watching. We'll brew around those dimensional feats next time. It'll be super dope. We're building Nightcrawler. I'll see you then.